It's New Year's Eve. You're out in the middle of the ocean on a cruise with family and friends, and it's going to be one hell of a night. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, sure, there might be a storm coming through, but so you get tossed around a little bit. That's just the way of the ocean. But little does anyone know that those people partying on the SS Poseidon are about to have their world turned over and everything will be upside down as the SS Poseidon finds itself broadsided by a huge tidal wave that capsizes the ship. And the entire ship is staying afloat upside down. Now, the Poseidon Adventure, directed by Ronald Neame, or Nemi, or Neame, came out in the early 70s during the period when disaster films were huge. We're talking films like Earthquake, the Airport series, Poseidon Adventure, The Granddaddy of them all, The Towering Inferno, and other little films. They would like try to find anything just to make it into an epic disaster movie, like say The Swarm or Roller Coaster or Avalanche. I think there was even one called Tidal Wave that I want to say was with Lauren Green. And then there's Meteor that preceded Armageddon and Deep Impact, and that all took place in the 70s. But what sets Poseidon Adventure apart from many of those films is not just the production value and the tight script that was based on the book by Paul Gallico. It's the cast. One of the great things about disaster movies in the 70s was all about the ensemble cast of who's who is going to be in this movie, and let's see who lives and who dies. So Poseidon Adventure is no different from other quality disaster films, especially those coming from Irwin Allen, who also did Towering Inferno and, well, The Swarm, if you want to call that quality. Guilty pleasure, yes. Quality, I don't know. But Poseidon Adventure features Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, Roddy McDowall, even Liam Leslie Nielsen in a dramatic turn long before he became known as a comedian and go-to guy for parodies and satires of the genre, like Airplane or Scary Movie or Naked Gun. But Poseidon Adventure was a fun film. I remember seeing it as a kid, and it was one of my favorite disaster films. Each character has their own backstory and vices that they have to get through. Gene Hackman plays a priest who's suffering from a bout of conscience and is losing his faith. Ernest Borgnine is a cop who's just trying to get by with his very loud and irritating wife, Stella Stevens. And then we have like Shelley Winters is there with her husband. I think her husband was played by Jack Albert, I believe. And then other people that we meet, like the blind lounge singer, the waiter, usher, or purser, I think he was, played by Roddy McDowall. And basically the adventure is that once the tidal wave happens, these people have to find a way to get off this ship. Now the ship is upside down, so they have to make their way up, which ends up being the bottom of the ship, and somehow they got to find a way to get out. I mean, there's a lot of things where you could say is like, well, why don't they just go down and then find an opening and swim out that way? But I guess in logistics and science, I guess there's really no way for them to get out, because technically they have to be swimming up 100. Since the ship capsized, you're probably looking at having to swim up 80 to 100 feet on one breath, and nobody's going to get out that way. But basically, it's just a fun film, entertaining adventure, and one of the better 70s disaster films. Unfortunately, it was followed by a very lackluster, ultimately forgettable sequel, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, which featured Michael Caine, who also starred in The Swarm, and it was remade in the 2000s by Wolfgang Petersen, and that ended up being a less than stellar carbon copy of the original. Sure, it had a higher budget and bigger effects, but doesn't hold a candle to the original. So, The Poseidon Adventure is a fun film, definitely worth checking out if you have the opportunity to see it in the theater. I highly recommend it. I would give The Poseidon Adventure 8 out of 10. Like I said, as a kid, it was one of my favorite disaster films, and still to this day holds up as one of the quality disaster epics of the 70s. So, have you seen The Poseidon Adventure, or have you heard of The Poseidon Adventure? Have you only seen the remake and not seen the original? What do you think? Which one do you prefer? I'm very curious to know. If you like my review, please hit that like button. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. And for those who have, thank you very much. By subscribing to my channel, you can stay on top of my reviews as they come in. So, until next time, see you at the movies.